Welcome to a quick tutorial. This is TechBot 360EX 2015 R1, and today I want to introduce a new capability using if statements for data alter. For the example, I chose a relatively modest size. This is a 2D wind turbine. We're looking at one time step, but I think it would apply to effectively any type of data you might process in TechBot. For those of you who haven't used our data alter capabilities, one can access them through the data menu via data alter specify equation. And it's always convenient to have the dataset information available as you're doing this analysis. So a couple of things we're going to do quickly. We will go ahead and turn on a contour of the x velocity, just for context. And that just you can see here. If you want to change the contour, you can do that as well by going in here. You can set it to anything in the first 8 variables, or you can go into the dialog itself, and we'll set this to turbulent viscosity. And once we have that variable as a contour variable or contour group, we can turn that on as well. Let's go ahead and do a quick probe. And we're going to look at what those values are. So you can see that the values are actually quite low. So we're looking at values of 0.0058. So effectively, these values are 0, or pretty close to 0, as you might expect. And so if we go out here, that value is actually about 0.009. And maybe we want to kind of make that a cutoff. So we're going to use an if statement. And first we'll create a new variable. To create a variable, use the curly brackets and type in a name. And so let's call this mod TV for modified turbulent viscosity. And we're going to set that equal to, so you could do something very simple. For those of you who haven't used this before, you could do just a cosine of V12, for example, if you wanted to apply a simple mathematical operator. And if I compute that, you'll see down here that this is what the value is for the new variable. Dataset info, if we go down to the bottom, you can see what the modded turbulent viscosity is, but that's not particularly interesting. You can get pretty sophisticated with the mathematical operators that you use, including derivatives, second derivatives, etc. For this example, we'll use a if test, and we will set that if test, and the if test syntax is quite similar to, say, using Microsoft Excel. For example, V12, which represents turbulent viscosity. We can set that, say, okay, well, let's say that these lower values aren't particularly interesting to us, so we're going to say for V12 that is less than or equal to a value of 0.0099. If that's true, then we're going to set it to a value of 0. And if it's false, we'll set it to V12. So basically, we want to carry over those values. Okay, and we'll hit compute. And you can see there's the value now for mod turbulent viscosity. And you can see what the values range now go from 0 to 0.14. And if we go back to V12, you see originally we got rid of these lower values. I can show that in a contour by contouring on this, and let's add a contour group here, modify the variable for that contour group of modded. Okay. And if I right click on this one here, I can now set that to the modded value. Now, again, there isn't going to be anything overly dramatic outside of the fact that you can see that outside those values now, it's exclusively 0. That can be very convenient because if you go into contouring, you can say I want to do a color cutoff, and you can say cutoff values that are below a value of 0.008, for example. And if you do that, you'll see, I'll have to redraw here, that the values are all, the color is cut off. In essence, you can kind of isolate contour variables. So in addition to doing kind of simple operators within if, you can also use if, and or statements. So let's do an or statement. So we'll say this is mod 2 TV. And so it's a new variable. We're going to calculate that based on an if statement. And let's go ahead and do something similar, just for context. So we'll say V12. And another thing that you can do is you can just copy. If you don't want to use the variable number, you can in fact use the variable name using the curly brackets around them. So you can say if turbulent viscosity is, let's see, equal to, and what did we say, 0, or, and well, let's make it slightly more interesting. Okay, so if it's equal to, or an equal just for the way the syntax is actually more programmatic, so it's 2 equal signs, or, which is 2 vertical bars. And we can say or V2 or X or Y, I guess let's use Y, is greater than 1.5. Then what do we want to do? So let's set the value here equal to 1, which would be off scale if it's true. And if it's false, let's set that value back to V12. I use V12 only because it's faster. Okay, this equation is going to run. We don't really need it, so if I want to, I can delete it, but it doesn't matter. It's pretty small. Okay, so now that's been computed. You can see we have mod 2, and it goes from 1 to 0.6 to the minus 9. Okay, so, and that again goes back to the or statement. So we didn't clip off all of the lower values like we did with the first equation. So if I probe, I should probe here, for example. You see that should be equal to 1 because it's greater than 1.5 in Y. And if I go to the contour variables here very quickly, we will select mod 2 and close that. You can see now that mod 2 values are shown here. Now, we probably would want to remove the color cutoff then for this one, so it's not cut off anything. And you can see the actual values. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of the new capability. So just to quickly explain, we have equals, not equal, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and logical tests such as AND, which is 2 AND, parens, or 2 vertical bars for OR. Thanks for watching a quick tutorial. Good luck with data alter, and let us know if you have any questions.